Hi everyone, I am Suchithra, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science in SNS College of Engineering. In this video, we are going to see about the topic exception handling. We want to know what is exception. An exception is an abnormal condition that arises in a code sequence at runtime. In another word, an exception is a runtime error. In computer language that do not support exception handling, error must be checked and handled manually, typically through the use of error code and so on. This approach is cumbersome as it is troublesome. Java's exception handling avoids this problem and in the process brings runtime error management into the object oriented world. We can see the small example over here. Here the girl is watching a video on YouTube on the computer. There is an exception that interrupted in watching video due to internet disconnectivity suddenly. So here the girl is watching the video but it disconnected due to some internet problem. That is the exception over here. We can see the another example. A car, here stopped car punctured. The car was stopped due to car puncture. That is exception. Puncture repaired. That is the exception handled. Here the repair we have done, no, that is called as exception handled. It's a Java exception is an object that describes an exceptional, that is error condition that has occurred in a piece of code. When an exception condition arises, an object representing that exception is created and thrown in the method that caused the error. That method may choose to handle exception itself or it passed it. Either way, at some point the exception is called and processed. Exceptions are generally generated by the Java runtime system or they can manually generated by your code. Exception thrown by the Java related to fundamental errors that violates the rules of a Java language or the constraint of a Java execution environment. Manually generated exceptions are typically used to report some error coding to the caller or the method. Java exception handling, we will be using 5 keywords, that is try, catch, throw, throws, finally. Java exception handling is managed via 5 keywords, that is try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. Program statement that you want to monitor for exception are contained within a try block. If an exception occurs within the try block, it is thrown. Your code can catch this exception using catch and the handle it is more some rational manner. System generated exception are automatically thrown by the Java runtime system. To manually throw an exception, use the keyword throw. An exception that is thrown out of a method must be specified as such as by thrown class. Any code that absolutely must be executed after the try block complete is put in finally block. This is the general form of an exception handling block. Here we are giving the try and inside the try we are giving the block of code to monitor for errors. After that closing that, then we are giving the catch keyword, exception type 1, its object, and opening the braces. In that we are giving exception handler for exception type. After that closing that, then again we are giving the another catch, that is exception type 2, its object, exception handler for exception type 2, and we are closing that. Then we are giving the finally keyword and opening that block of code to be executed after try block ends. Here when the problem is occur, after that we want to create exception, then throw exception, then finally we have to handle the exception. Now we are going to see about the types of exception handling. Here we are throwing two types, exceptions and errors. In exception we have two exceptions, check exception and uncheck exception. In check exception we are getting IO exception, SQL exception and class not found exception. In unchecked exception, we are getting the arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, index out of bound exception. In index bound, we are having the two types, that is array index out of bound exception, string index out of bound exception. In errors, we are having the three errors: stack overflow error, virtual machine error, and out of memory error. Okay guys, we will discuss the types of exception handling in detail in next video.